Asherlo. It's a big rent.
And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Sure It'll Be Grand, more specifically, What's on the Box, with David Kamai this time, and myself, reviewing Andor. Can I say the most embarrassing thing from the start? As someone who likes Star Wars, and I think I've proven to you, David, at least, that I have a slight fondness for the franchise.
A little bit, yes, I would say.
Yeah.
Just a wee bit.
Yeah, just a little bit, yeah. I forgot Andor was his second name, and I thought it was going to be about a planet called Andor, because Andor sounds quite planet-like.
Well, it sounds very similar to Endor, which has confused a lot of people.
Actually, I think it was brought up before in this. I think with Kevin, who everyone who's been listening to our Shield, he is on that side of What's on the Box. Let's review Andor. Star Wars' newest TV series. Well, I say TV series, you watch it on a mobile phone now or anything, because it's streaming on Disney Plus, for all who use Disney Plus. Right, so we've had a few Star Wars shows now. Right, live action, I should say, because we've had Star Wars shows for years. It's just, ew, animation. No, that doesn't count. Even though it's one of the few things that when the whole fallout of, we're going to restart the canon with only the movies, the animated series were the ones that were preserved for the canon. They said, this is going to be brought over. Just a point. Whenever people ignore these things, to Lucas and to Disney, the animated stuff is important. You know?
Correct. Well, which is somewhat ironic if you watch the ILM special, or the special about ILM, is how I find it amusing considering how Lucas seemed to kind of go, ooh, cartoons.
Yeah.
Has seemed to have a tone about cartoons, and animation, but yet was involved with Filoni and helping with the animated series here with Clone Wars and Rebels, etc., and obviously provided a lot of information. There was
also seems very attached to Ahsoka in general. Yes. He didn't use her. I suppose he didn't have much opportunity to use her, but it's strange how he has such attitude towards. Because Lucas Arts games were a huge thing. And did he see these in the same regards? Because even with things like Monkey Island, I heard they were really dedicated to making this work well. It was important. So I wonder if Lucas was kind of was he shitting on some of the games as well when he went, animation? No.
Yeah, very, very interesting. I think that's something and perhaps that's a story for another time.
Yes, of course. Let's talk about Andor for anyone who has been tuning in. We're going to go for the first 3 episodes. We're not going to go super in detail, but the things we don't really need to. Because these episodes are very slow-paced. And so far, take their time. And that's all right. I'm perfectly okay with that. Not sure if we need... Maybe they released the first 3 episodes with it being slow-paced because they were worried that if this was coming out every week, people were okay, nothing's happening.
Especially the way the first episode ended, nothing really happened, and we had barely established even anything.
Yeah.
So it definitely needed at least the 3 episodes. I think because finally the 3rd episode is when things get going.
Yeah.
They maybe could have ended on just having 2, but I think it was wise releasing 3. Set everything up properly.
Yeah, and I mean, Rings of Power did something similar, though I would still argue they haven't really started the plot yet. I think it's still building to the things that are coming, but that's a whole nother show that's been reviewed by Cosy and I. We're doing 3 What's on the Boxes, really. We aren't calling the ones that Owen and I are watching What's on the Box, but I suppose it is a What's on the Box as well, yeah. Oh, god damn. I am run thin. Anyway...
You're a busy man.
Yeah, very busy. But anyway, so this is a story, as I kind of hinted at the beginning, of Cassian Andor. And David, we know Cassian Andor.
Say that again. I'm sorry. Right as you said
Yeah.
that, my audio cut out on me.
We know Cassian Andor.
Yes, we do know Cassian Andor. As if we watched Rogue One, that is where we know Cassian Andor from.
Yeah.
And certainly, Rogue One was definitely an interesting venture
It's an
for
experiment,
for
yeah.
for experiment really of doing these non Jedi films, non main, just here's a Skywalker, here's a this, and here's a lightsaber, where there was a departure and focusing on another set of characters,
The little
which
people, so to speak.
right,
Yeah.
the little people of the stories. So that was and that was a movie. It was interesting to me that I know a lot of people actually it was really well received.
Yeah, I loved it.
For me, when I first saw it too, I was I liked it, but something about it for some reason on my first viewing, it was just different. I enjoyed it, but it didn't like capture me for some reason, and I
I
don't know why that was.
I think
But
I know why. Just to interject quickly.
yes,
Personally,
go.
quickly, sorry. I think it doesn't have the shine and sparkle that the Star Wars movies normally have. This is a, hey, it's Star Wars, but it's in Vietnam.
That was an excellent way of putting it. And what's funny is I went ahead and rewatched it this year. Honestly, I watched a little bit in tidbits over the years afterwards, but never a good full rewatch.
Yeah.
Knowing the show was coming back up, and I wanted to watch, make sure I was prepared in case there was anything that was brought up. I watched it again this year, and I loved it. Like now, there was something about just watching it, and perhaps because I'd already watched it or something, I guess maybe I was coming in with a different mindset. But this time around in watching it, I absolutely adored it
Yeah.
and went, "This was great." I really had a much greater appreciation of several things about it. So it really actually helped, and it helped by watching that. I think it is a good idea to watch well, Rogue One first before this show, even at this point, just because for the character, for who Andor is, as this show is starting to establish who Andor really is and
I
get a little bit
Yeah.
backstory. But it's not at this point. It's not necessary because you can kind of get the idea from the show. But I do believe it helps. But it
Yeah.
helps establish, I think, if you watch Rogue One, some of that mentality of it's different. This is Star
Yeah.
Wars, but it's different, and it gets your palate ready for this is going to be Star Wars, but it's going to be different.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, look, the big thing of it is it's the same atmosphere. I think the show got it right. It feels like a movie
Yes.
in relation to Rogue One, and again, I'm not sure. I think we have to wait till the series finishes before we can really say, oh, which one to watch first and in which order and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, Rogue One was made to be watched alone in regards to other Star Wars movies. Obviously, it goes right into A New Hope and all this kind of stuff. But, you don't have to watch anything. Like, it was made to be independent. You can watch it independently as long as you know New Hope. That's basically it. Oh no, what we need to get the plans to destroy the Death Star. That's really the only thing you need to know.
Right. It doesn't. There's no. You can. It's. I think it's better if you already have, but it doesn't take anything. You're not.
Yeah.
You're not crippling the whole thing. It
Yeah.
can still stand alone. You might miss a few tidbits, or maybe not have as much. Oh, something
Yeah.
about it, but it can stand alone. That was what was very impressive about.
Yeah, fair
Rogue
enough.
One.
And you're right. Look, if you're into all the little references and like little, hey, what about this and what about that? This definitely watch the movie first and then watch this show. Like this show is trying to connect itself to the movie as best as it can.
Mhm.
Uh,
The-
yeah, go on.
well, that was an interesting nugget of information. I thought that when I forgot what article I meant to pull it up beforehand, but one of the things that we're bringing up that the show is one that intentionally or unintentionally, but it primarily was not bringing up a lot of things of like, oh, there's that, oh, there's that. It was trying to still keep the show somewhat independent, that you can just watch it. You're going to have some
Yeah.
references, but that was actually a thing of they're doing their own thing with this. So
Yeah.
not as many Easter eggs, not as many other references, minor stuff to help involve it in the universe, but you're its own thing.
I also like that one thing it tried to do was take things that we have seen in Star Wars and just give them a bit of a twist. So, like, the police force in this, they're basically the Imperial government alternatives. It's basically like if you were playing a video game and you released a skin, they would be the second skin you have for these guys. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
They're a bit more rough around the edges. They're not ones that really, let's say, pass that well on the entrance exam. They aren't going to end up working for the top end Empire stuff.
Are you saying they're the community college?
Yeah, the community college Imperial officers, right? Like, I'm getting that vibe. They're like, they are. No, they're not. They are the security guy in the shopping center. They're not a police officer, but they can pepper spray you.
Right. Well, hell, even more than that, right? I mean, they can do more, as we see in the third episode. Yeah. That was an interesting addition, or something they brought in, is now bringing in this corporation.
Yeah.
Right. And this is the version of where we are now seeing what's going on in these outlying, mid rim, outer rim, and areas of where it touches upon. The Empire doesn't have control of everything,
very
which
frayed they can't. Edges.
That's right. This is getting just out there to where, people know the Empire, but this is getting outside the realm. Which again, why should they? They need to control as much as they can, but why spend the resources going that far out?
Yeah. They just pay local militia and say, "Hey, look after this. Give us so much money of the bribes you take, and we'll sign you off on an official franchise here."
So now this is officially like privatized.
Yeah, this is McDonald's, right? Of Empire soldiers stuff.
Well, this is actually what I felt it kind of touched upon. It's very much like, or at least over here in the the U.S., good old privatized prisons. Actually paid to do this. It's like, well, wait a minute, isn't this supposed to be government? Yeah, but this is privatized.
And talk about privatized prisons. We can talk about race issues, because that's really what came up here at one stage where. Some of the officers or guards or whatever they want to call themselves attacked, and I semi-paraphrase quoted, a brown person they shouldn't have, or a dark-skinned human they shouldn't.
Dark-skinned,
yeah.
Dark-skinned.
And it was just like, I'm impressed that they had the balls to say it like that. Like, this is Disney. Like, Disney likes to walk the line on these things. It doesn't like to get too... I even hate the word now, political, because so many people use it as a get out clause. But when I mentioned that in reference to Andor, I was just like,
"Oh, they went there."
Yeah, like this is something. Like, wait, is this The Wire now? Okay,
like I think so. That the whole intro, that was something in those first, in that first episode in the beginnings. That was certainly one of the elements that definitely piqued my interest and made me go, I see where we're going with this show, or seeing the tone, I should say, right? Which was something that was supposed to be expected. They're supposed to be a little bit darker, a little bit more mature in some of the tones. Yeah. It's still Disney. There's still Disney influence on this.
Yeah,
but there is maturity. This is getting gritty.
So an interesting way they've done the show about Cassian Andor is that there are two storylines in two different times in Cassian's. This is not just a flashback to say, oh, this has happened to me currently and this is how it relates back to my past. No, these are like semi-unrelated storylines of the same character years apart when he was definitely a 6-year-old child.
Okay, so I was not mistaken in that. No, okay.
Absolutely. When you said that to me, I was like, he was meant to be 6. What?
And yes, and as we'll touch upon, there's several things about that, particularly as we touch upon the later episodes, of where that's the part that makes me scratch my head. This is probably, I'll say this. I love the show. The show is very good, I think.
Yeah.
Very different, very good. But this was certainly one item that made me go, guys, because they make it a point for anybody who doesn't remember, in that in Rogue One, Cassian, I think he tells Jin this one, right? Yeah. He says that he's been in this battle since he was 6 years old.
Yeah.
We see these flashback scenes of him as a kid with his tribe on the planet of Canary, and yeah, he's a very old looking 6 years old, I gotta
Like
say.
Princess Leia, as we saw in Kenobi, is 4 years older than this child. No way in hell. But that's what makes me think. Maybe there's some retroactive looking at this later on in his life, because I don't think his people. Well, obviously, I don't think humans are native to that planet. Um, what it seems like, maybe there were people that were brought there, maybe as slaves, or whatever, to mine, and some kids escaped, or some families escaped, and the kids survived, and they've been basically trying to fight for their independence since he was 6.
Oh, see, there's the good. That was something. That was what I was gonna bring up to you. Is or could they have been referencing something else? I like that. That's something because that is a good point. In what we see, these are all kids, or of various ages,
I see
but
no
they're all young.
adults. I don't think I
There's
see
no
one.
adults.
No adults. No.
Yeah. So this, and they don't explain it. They don't touch upon anything further besides saying that this planet was abandoned because of a mass mining accident.
Yeah.
Um, so we don't have any explanation, but we see all these young kids. That is a great point, and that could be what they might feed on if they do some further flashbacks. If they feed that piece, they'll have something else probably happen that will reference
Yeah.
that actual beginning, and
Yeah.
now you'll see, I got you. This is what you've been
Yeah.
fighting, is that.
And to keep a thing in mind, they all have weapons.
Mm-hmm.
You
Blow darts,
know?
mostly.
Yeah, blow darts. But again, they're also wearing clothes that look like they're not industry clothing. Like, this is legit scraps they
That
found
was,
together and tackled
yeah.
around.
That was something, I thought that was, and it seemed like that was very intentional. I mean, not just, well, I say very intentional. The angles and the way they showed them, it looked like that was intentional pointing that out.
Yeah.
I felt like you could very much tell that was about their clothing. So again, it brings about, yeah, how are they,
Yeah.
what happened to this tribe of people,
Yeah.
these kids?
You
Because
don't speak
obviously,
Common Galactic, for example.
right.
You
Which was
know.
an interesting, I think that was, and that was the other thing, right? So they are, he's saying that they are from, they claim they are from Canary, right? He seems
Mm.
to, that's his claim, he's from there as a Canary.
Mm.
What does that really mean, right? And I thought that was pretty neat, though. That reference live of him, they're not speaking. It's pretty funny. They're not speaking English or basic as it's
Oh
referenced,
yeah, sorry.
but
Yeah, I don't know.
you know,
Yeah, whatever.
but
Sorry.
they're they. It just says, but I love that the subtitles just say speaking Canary. They don't give any translation. Even if
Yeah.
you have subtitles on, it's just speaking Canary. We don't know what they're saying to each other. I find that pretty funny.
Yeah.
But but you get what they're saying from their body language and from what happens. But it's just funny they didn't offer any kind of translation or anything. Like they're like, yeah, they're just speaking whatever.
Yeah, and I think that's the point.
But I
They
did
want
like
us
that.
to wonder where they're coming from, who
Not
they
focused.
are.
Not, or may not focus on that, just let it happen. But what I did like about that, I think that's a cool in-universe way of showing that, as we saw, he doesn't speak English. He's at this point has been speaking Canary,
Yeah.
and so it helps explain a lot about his accent, right?
Yeah.
He can use more of his native, his natural accent. It is a little you can hear if you ever hear him in interviews, he struggles on some
Yeah.
things,
Yeah. Yeah.
but that I think it helps give some depth to where the accent comes from, and you're
Yeah.
like, okay, well, this makes sense, yes, because English or Basic wasn't his native language, so he's speaking with this accent. Okay, I like that. I would love to see
Yeah.
kind of more of those references or things like that because it's more real,
Yeah, and
right? This is bringing out
even
reality.
like one big thing about Star Wars universe is usually that the humans seems to be in charge in general, no matter what era.
Yeah.
To be honest, even the Republic era, humans seem to be
Hmm.
the default, and even within the humans, I mean, there's like evil English accent people and vaguely American sounding people. That's
Uh-huh.
basically like the rebels. They're all basically like American slash like transatlantic accents going on there, right?
Yeah.
And then the other side is just English people. Darth Vader's like the only one. He grew up in Georgia or something. You know,
unless you hear the actual audio, then it's way different.
Oh, he's a Yorkshire man then, yeah. But yeah, one thing to also mention about the kids, I know I said like they kind of go to his past without really referencing something that's happening in the present, but I think they still act as a mirror across the board because, like you said, they're wearing scraps of clothing, all that, and on his side of things, like the Empire, or so much the local corporation, is the scraps of the Empire, really. Everything where they are is the scraps and dregs. Like, his friend literally works in a giant junkyard.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, they're working in the scrap yards, which I thought was cool. I love the referencing showing the scrap yards, which is, referencing over like what we saw in if you played Jedi Fallen Order, where they started there, where they're playing, they're there in the scrap yards. I love that.
Not just that either. A scrapyard. Did a scrapyard show? No, sorry. I'm so sorry. Wrong franchise. I was thinking of Star Trek Prodigy. Anyway, yeah, but yeah, like scrapyard seems. Well, I suppose even Rey. We first meet her in the desert in a giant scrap ship. And she is a scrapper.
She's a scrapper. I thought it was here in this it very much they showed actually a lot of the machines and things and ships that are exactly like from the game. It gave me some flashbacks of I saw some parts like, oh, that's just like actually I think they kind of took some reference from the shots there because there's a few shots that are very reminiscent from there.
I mean, that game has quickly become the show as well, isn't it? Like from what I hear, and like it's quickly being announced. So yeah, I again, this is a cool sort of thing because I suppose even though Star Wars games were great when we were growing up, and they were completely done by LucasArts, like some of the best Star Wars games were made in that era, but there was never really any crossover from the games to the TV shows or like cinema. That just didn't happen. Just not, But okay, so you know what we'll do? We'll kind of follow the timeline of the kid at first, and then we can kind of go to the meaty bits. But yeah, they hear a giant crash. They see a thing going across the sky, and they don't seem too shocked. You see one of the girls on the riverbank, and she's waving towards the spaceship.
Right.
And you see them all kind of like going, hey, when it crashes and blows up. It's like, this is just a thing that seems to happen on this world or something. That's the impression I'm getting.
Right.
Maybe, like, this is what makes me think as well, that they aren't probably... I'd say what happened is, so let's say he's 12 years old in these flashbacks, which I think is a fair enough thing to say.
Yeah.
I'd say roughly around the time he was born or when he was an infant is when the Republic collapsed, right?
So, right. Well, so from a timeline. So yeah, let's take a moment to help with this timeline. This is where things are. So in Rogue One, he is estimated because I think they've said it's not quite 100% clear, but it's the rough canon on this is that he's 26 years old. So figure that's basically a year of that Battle of Yavin. Yeah. So go back, it was 19 years before that is Order 66. So he would have been 7 years old. Right.
6 or 7.
6 or 7 he's supposed to have been when essentially the Empire is now formed. Also, we figure if he's 6 or 7, and then it should take a little bit of time to help spread out and things are officially going Empire. But
even then, that could be why when the mines had a massive accident, the Republic didn't come in to fix it. Then the Empire wasn't even ready to fix things, and they just stayed out.
So that's the thought. Depending on where this timeline is why this now. As things further, we get a little bit later into about that ship. There's some things about that crew that you may have noticed, and that brings about again question and some remarks made questioning the timeline.
Yeah, fair enough. They see the explosion. The explosion seems to be one of those things, like a ship crashing. Seems to be one of the things about, hey, let's go over there, because they all have stuff that they hold on to, like bottles of water and stuff. Like they're scrappers again. Like they look for ships to crash, go where it is, get any scrap they can, and go off. And they're all ready to do this. They have, blowpipes to... Again, how many of those blow darts do you need to take down a person? Because that guy at the beginning, defending himself, he did pretty well. Like, he had 8 or 10 of them.
That was pretty ridiculous. I will say, it made me go, what's on those blow darts to get him? Because, you got to figure they have to have some kind of poison, something on it. Because just a standard blow dart's not going to do anything. So you have to have something. Whatever it is, they might need to work on something quicker acting or more potent, because that guy, his back was just riddled.
He was really messed up. And, they take him down eventually because he pretended. I think he pretended to be down at first, or maybe he was unconscious, but then he gained consciousness while they walked past. Well, one of the kids walked past him, but in general, they brought him down, and he was yellow skinned. And like I was mentioning at the beginning, like I definitely thought, oh, that's just a species. That's just the yellow people. Mm-hmm. But I think when they walked right into the ship and there was a guy slumped over against the door. He had no physical injuries. Mm-hmm. I kind of think, okay, must have been poison. And again, I'm not sure how they got poisoned. So someone must be on the planet, part of the mining thing, right?
So that's what I'm worrying about. They don't explain. And I think we have to kind of go back and forth in our timeline here of things. But it's mentioned that there is no yellow gas. I think it's called yellow gas or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. A character references that as it's safe to breathe.
Yeah.
So obviously, what I'm wondering about is that what the mine? Yeah. Was this ship something that was either carrying to for the mining or carrying from, and where they would have something dangerous like that, and when they crash, either is this they got hit, we don't know. We have to theorize on this. What happened with why this ship crashed? Was it being attacked? Did something get ruptured of what they had? So now the gas is there and that's killing everybody. Or did something rupture while they were trying to transport, explode? And that's what, yellowed everybody and killed them. Or just the fact that they crash and then that stuff gets released.
Yellow stuff definitely seems like something that's mined on the planet, though. Because when we see the giant mines, we see huge waves of the sea things.
You see that.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, maybe just, like, I imagine they got attacked. I'm half thinking it might have been the people that rescued Andor. Picked up Andor. Maybe they were involved. Because they were quite close when it happened. And there wasn't much delay. Let's be real. An hour or so, like at most, from the crash. Maybe they travelled for a few days. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seemed quite immediate.
So it was several hours. But it's still fairly close time period of view. It's too coincidental of why they were there. So certainly they're, either they were there and they could have been the reasons why they were trying to. It could be explained that was the oops. Maybe they were trying to bring to get the ship, and it might have gone oops, and it brought it down.
She just mentioned, and then we'll get in. If we call for someone to help, then they'll find that we killed a couple of Imperial officers.
So they'll say they think no, not Imperial. Aha! So here's the gotcha.
Okay,
let's jump into this. So this is where I went. Hold up, rewind, play it back. We later see that there's this man and after the kids go to the ship, one of them gets killed. Their leader, it seems like, gets killed, and they all take down the guy with blow darts. Cassian stays behind there and goes into the ship. He starts investigating it. Right?
Gets very angry with reflections of himself.
And he
never looks into a river.
Yeah, that was apparently angry with his reflection. All right. We see that then there's these two people, whom one of them we at this point, by the time they show it, we already know who this is. It's the woman who essentially is his adoptive mother. And the man with her is supposed to be her husband, actually.
And so
they're there, and good old robot, our droid buddy. Was he B2? Hold on, a B2EM0, or he's Emo.
I think it's actually an O. I don't think it's a 0.
Is it O? I thought I saw one of the writings
right now. And
do they actually have it as O? Yeah. There was another. That's a BTEMO.
Because to me, it just looks like B2 emo. He's too emo.
Emo. Well, he kind of is. He's a little sad, So he's a little too emo. So And then we see him in this since the flashback. He is nice, bright red, and shiny. He's
I
absolutely
want
pristine.
him. I
So
want.
yes. Oh, I loved him. But here's an interesting thing. So we see her. Marva is the character's name. We see Marva and her husband come along. They mention the
Why did
gas.
you
They
say
say
that name?
it's Marva, not Marva. They enter ship, and you see that they're scrappers as well. They're there to do some scrap work there.
Yeah.
But it's as if they were pouncing on this fact again, questioning why were they there so soon.
Yeah.
But this is the thing: is you then hear that I think it's her husband or or that B2. One of them makes a comment saying there's a Republic freighter or a frigate inbound, right? And that's when they're like, okay, we've got to hurry up. We got to hurry up because of a frigate coming in, Republic frigate.
Okay, but here's the thing. Here's the thing I mentioned that though, just before we go on. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a frigate that belongs to the Republic. That is a frigate that was made for the Republic at one stage.
Exactly. So that's where I think they might be. So here's the thing. So that she, of course, her husband's saying like, "Hey, we gotta go." She's obviously trying to calm Cassian down. She's trying to speak to him in English, in basic. He doesn't understand her, which was cool. That was a cool reference. They were finally showing they're like, "Hey, he really is just from this planet, doesn't, or at least from this group, does not speak English. He doesn't know her, doesn't know how to communicate." She's trying to calm him down, and he's like, and the husband goes, "Hey, let's just get out of here. Leave the kid. Who cares?" She makes a comment. She goes, "What are they going to do when they find him? That his people killed a Republic officer or Republic." She makes a comment saying Republic officer. Republic. Here's the problem with this. Did you notice their uniforms? Their uniforms, and they made a clear point of this. You see the CIS emblem, CIS, the Confederacy of the Independent Systems. Those are separatists. They're not Republic.
Right. Hold on. What does that mean? Then?
That was intent. They kind of intentionally laid it. They had a couple of them laid out where you could see you saw that's what they were. So this ship was a separatist ship, and that would make sense too about why if the Republic's close by, if there was a But again, why would if Marva, why would she make this comment of saying they killed a Republic officer? Well, hold on. This is not. They would, and surely you would figure somebody like Marva, which seems like obviously later we see they're off planet anyways. She should be aware of the difference of Republic and Separatist clashes going on.
Yeah.
You would think. Again, unless are we past the clash point? Is that weird mixture happening of Republic being converted into Empire, and she's just kind of calling it Republic?
Or a potentially other thing, though I don't think it ever showed up in canon. When the Republic was turned into an Empire, and I mean, it was like the fall of the Republic wasn't that far away from the fall of the Separatists.
Mm-hmm.
Would those who were staunchly part of the Republican ideal suddenly find strange allies in the Separatists? Because the Separatists don't want to be ruled by the Empire. They don't want to be ruled by the Republic in general. But they don't want to be ruled by one big body. So what
did it kind of convert the name change?
Yeah. Or they just became the same thing for a while. The Republic... Because we know at some stage it died out, and then the Rebel Alliance came back around again at the end.
Yep.
But at this stage, it might have just been weakened bodies just working together, become the same thing.
Yep.
That'd be
so
cool.
So that's where, again, where it made me scratch my head because I'm like, she wouldn't make such a mistake.
No,
I don't think it doesn't make sense for her to make that kind of mistake. So there's got to be a reason, and again, it falls with the. So now I'm back to. What timeline are we really on, right? At what point? How old is Cassian? So at what stage?
It looks again he's closer to six now, isn't it? Yeah.
So which means it was like, so are they getting back to where? Yeah, that would make sense. But 6 or 7 years old. I mean, we'll be generous say 7. But it's like he don't look like he's a very old looking.
He looks really on the brink of being a teenager. Like, let's be real.
Right, he's right at he's a preteen. Yeah. So
Like they literally
that
adopted him into the hunting part group. Like here's the
right.
thing. Like I have one last thing to talk about him. I know we kind of laughed at that he just destroys reflections and stuff. The thing is, okay, he checked himself to check if it was his reflection. That's fair enough, I get, right? He has definitely seen reflections himself living on this world. They live next to a river. He has looked into the river. He's seen himself. But this is the first time he has seen himself with the tribal markings.
Yes. There was a lot of significance about that,
Yeah.
and he was
What
remarking.
if the tribal markings were something that he saw on other people outside of his tribe that caused him to be in danger? Is there something about the tribal markings? I'm wondering if we look at some of the clone troopers, and there's a black line going right underneath the chin there. And if you look at clone troopers, the big black stripe across the visor down to the chin.
Kind of down chin, yeah.
And there's 3 stripes on the arm as well. I wonder if it reminded him of something and he didn't want to be it. He seems curious at first, but and I think by the end when he's on the ship, now he didn't do it. The makeup has been taken off him.
Yeah, they clean him up.
Yeah, they clean him up, and they, it kind of signifies that he was like, that was the end of his previous life and start of a new one, and we kind of get that in the 3rd episode on both timelines. This is like we're moving on, we're leaving this behind. This is the new start. Right. I don't know. I think we might be coming back to that. I have a feeling.
Yeah, so I hope so. I hope that isn't just a like there it is, and because I think it opens up for some interesting more backstory, something to help. But yeah, so all of that, I loved a lot about it makes it interesting.
Yeah.
But again, throws the whole so what time and how old is he?
Yeah.
We're thrown on that, and so we need a little bit more explanation to help kind of fit in with the other stuff. That's the thing. I'm hoping we do get some explanation. It's not just, that was it, and then we're like, well, hold on, that don't make no sense,
Yeah, yeah.
Nor we just say, yeah, he was 6-year-old. Sure, doesn't he look good?
Yeah, he doesn't. I mean, I don't know.
Or the stuff on that mining planet. Man, it just makes you age.
Yeah,
it turns.
Sorry, it's Obi-Wan in the desert disease. Just really ages you. I'm just trying to see how old this kid is, but I think because he's a kid,
real life,
they're always a little bit iffy about putting ages up, which is fair enough. Children don't need identity theft that early in life. I like that he's also from Mexico City, much like his older counterpart. That's cool. I don't know, but yeah, it definitely confuses the age a bit. But let's look at older Andor and see who he is, what he is. From the outside, he has no regular job. He makes a lot of big loans and then tries to avoid people with those loans. But he's friendly with all the right people, so it kind of keeps him afloat as well. He has a friend who expertly covers for him. When he says, "I was at your house," that was amazing. That was like,
that's a mate right there, man.
Yeah.
That's
holy shit! And he was on board straight. And I even love. Okay, so yeah, he meets his friend before he goes off to the scrapyard, and he says, "I was at your house. We drank a bit, enjoyed the drink, we fell asleep, and then I left the house the next day." And he went, "Huh?" He said, "Please, I need this." And, yes, you came home. You insulted my drink. I was insulted by it. You got sick all over the place. I kicked you out, and now you've come here to apologize. And even as he was leaving on the tram, he was just like, "And get a job, won't you?" So like, there's this public image of him basically kind of being a bum.
Yep.
But that's far from who he is, I think.
Sure. Well, I think back to actually as it starts, right? We see he's on his own. He's out searching according to when he goes to the corporate planet there, and he's searching, for a woman whom he says is his sister, which we see in the which is explained in the flashbacks. It looks like that little girl we assume is that his real, which brings about a question: is that little girl really his sister, his actual sister, or just he calling her his sister, but just someone he, perhaps just looked after or they were together? Either case, when we see that as it goes on and he gets into the gets harassed by those two corporate guards who, when he accidentally kills one of them, and you hear him, he immediately just goes, "Oh, he's faking it," and the realization sets in. No, I actually killed him. And he doesn't. You see the look of dread and that look of like, oh God. And then the other guy's saying, "Well, no, we'll go in. It's okay. We'll just go in." And he's like, "Well, he knows he can't go in. No, he can't. He's not supposed to be here."
Yeah.
He knows the lay of the land here is, even though it's not the Empire, this is mini Empire. So
his instincts are telling me.
Yeah.
Jesus, don't do this.
And he goes and kills the guy. Kills the second guard.
Yeah.
Just like, man, that was just boom, right to the head. Blast him. And it's like, holy shit. Yeah. But it that right there set the tone about who he is. Right, he's not. He's a killer, but he's not a killer.
He hates
right.
being a
he's
killer.
not cold. He hates being a killer. Unfortunately, he knows what he needs to do. Yeah. Which does dovetail into how we saw him in Rogue One, right?
Yeah.
He had a lot of guilt. You saw in Rogue One, he has guilt.
Yeah.
And this adds to it. This helps bring about there's one I'm sure that's haunting memory for him is the guilt of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Accents, I think, is an important one that comes up here again.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the bad guys before were, the Empire is quite posh English and yes, Lord Vader, that kind of stuff. This is very much more like working class sort of, "Oi, governor," and that seems to be all of them really, except for like the one preppy officer who cosplayed his own uniform a bit.
It has pockets.
Yeah, it has pockets. But yeah, they all seem a bit more rough and like, they went for the English accents are evil, and they brought it. But this is lower class because this isn't the high Empire. This is the ruffians that they, It's an interesting one. Accents have been interesting in TV recently in general. I mean, just to jump over to the Rings of Power. A lot of people have opinions on the Hobbits. Personally, I don't mind too much. I'm used to it at this stage, The very oh yes, oh yeah. Sugar bottom, don't fall off the tree, or something like that. Lenny Henry, I need a word with you. But yeah, it's interesting the kind of re-emergence of accents. And how it was definitely a thing on purpose. Like the two officers in the bar have the same accent than the second in command we meet later on, which makes me definitely think like he knows them well, and he has his own ulterior motives here. He's using this prim and proper officer to get what he wants,
Right.
I think
it was interesting. That was a good catch about the accents and usage of that. I think you nailed it right there, and that helped. I think will establish the difference about maybe this little like what we're looking at here. We're not looking at it helped differentiate. We're not looking at the Empire. We're at this lower level where you have more of, say like it sounds like the regular folk who can rise the ranks, and they're in control. It's almost
well, it's kind of
I guess more normal.
Yeah, it's kind of in the way that look. The Empire is built up of a club of people that know each other. It's the people high in society who all know each other, and it's nepotism all over the place. And then as it comes out to these edges of the galaxy, they're reaching further and further to people that they might kind of know, or someone knows them, some knows them. It's still who you know, because that's how an empire works. It's not elected. It's elected by power and those who follow you.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think it's a really smart move to have still a relationship between those accents, but at the same time change it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Also, Red Light District in Star Wars, in Bubbles. I tried to glimpse some of them. I feel like some of us robots and some of them were aliens, and like I was like, okay, fair enough. But yeah, no, look, it actually reminded me a lot when we first got the shot of him walking across the bridge in the rain. I thought that was the planet where Solo was from. We see, it kind of get that vibe of those long sort of roads. Yeah. Like, basically feels almost like these things are pre-packed in space, dropped, and then just open out.
Which I think that kind of, I guess, which that makes sense. Like that's why it would be like, because it was also what very much it had remnants of is kind of like Camino. Being on a water plant, like you felt like because there was this long bridge and all this rain and water, and it's like it kind of call back to that as well, that atmosphere.
And I think again, what they're doing there is they're trying to explain that maybe not all these planets were made for humans.
Mm-hmm.
Like this isn't ideal living for humans. Also got a lot of. Oh God, not Alderaan. What's the city planet capital of the Republican Empire?
Coruscant.
Coruscant. A lot of Coruscant vibes as well. Like the kind of Coruscant vibes we got also in Obi-Wan Kenobi when they were at that planet where he had to fight off the druggies that tried to kidnap Leia. It has that like street vibe. Like we didn't see a lot of that in the movies. We saw death sticks and like, an assassin sent an assassin to look at the assassin. But if the assassin doesn't assassinate the assassin, then that assassin gets assassinated. We got that, right? But I like this because Star Wars has mostly been, hey, we're in a desert. Hey, we're in a space station of some variety. And hey, we're in space. There's never there have been a few bits and bobs in the prequel series where we saw other environments and different ways that people lived, but we're getting more and more. And it's also kind of moved away from very Middle Eastern houses and living places that we've seen like in Tatooine to more Egyptian style buildings and like almost European style. Like I saw brickwork. When I forgot her name.
Bix.
Hold on, let me see quickly. When Luthen lands and the woman's waiting for him in the cafe, there's like a nice arch of red stone bricks. And I'm like, that hasn't been in Star Wars. Why is my brain just went, whoa, red stone bricks?
There is definitely. I think that's why I was enjoying the slower pace of things. I mean, they took their time when they're talking, when they explain stuff, or sometimes even just having a lot of pauses in things.
Yeah.
But I loved that because I was savoring the environment for that, because we are seeing things now that aren't quite normally in Star Wars. Like you say, the red bricks. There were things like that I was noticing too, the architecture and just how things are. It gave much more of a feeling of I'm living there in this different place. And I really enjoyed being in that and not just getting this quick glimpse of, oh, look, it's very different. Oh, now it's gone now. It was instead, we were there and we got to live it and kind of soak it up.
Yeah. I really loved the old fella that was talking to Luthen on there. Like, he literally feels like any like English bloke that's going off to a local soccer match or football match who just is talking to the guy who really doesn't want to talk, I quite like that character. Again, like, maybe it's just my Star Wars brain, but like every content, they're going to be important later on. They're going to be important later on. And I was like, saying, is mustache guy who was given out about, the price of space trains are so expensive these days. Back in my day, we drove and had lung cancer a week later, and it was good. Yeah, like that's it's just a grumpy old dude. He wasn't even grumpy. He was just like, things are blood. Yeah. But to be fair, in his time, I guess maybe nowadays is worse. The Empire is kind of in charge. Fair enough. But But yeah,
I think that was the nice touch of things like that. Whether he'll be important or not, or whether that was just a throwaway
nice
character,
characterful
but
person.
but,
Yeah,
but it just it added stuff. I think
yeah,
again, are these things that could have been shrunk down probably and would have still had some point of it. Just it helped kind of show you a little bit as well as how Luthen handles people, like how he handles coming in, right? Because
yeah,
he's there on a secret mission essentially, and obviously what we are going to see, it looks like he's involved with rebellion. Well, yeah, he can't be caught.
yeah,
So how's he handle being in just there? And we got to see that. You could have handled that differently. Could have shortened it up. It felt like they took their time with that little explanation. But I enjoyed it. Enjoyed seeing the character. Enjoyed seeing again.
yeah,
We're living in it. It feels like, and we just got
yeah.
to experience.
And we got
But I
see
enjoyed that character a lot.
we see an interesting stuff between Luthen and Cassian though, because it's definitely like a
Mm-hmm.
good cop, bad cop. There is younger, more I don't want to call Andor naive. He isn't naive. He's just, I think he's just lived a little less than Luthen, and he still
Yes.
has the idea of things can be better. They should be better. We should be better. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
Luthen's like, look, I'm here to get a job done. Shoot him in the head. Let's move. Like, that's very much who he is.
Right. Well, again, it shows that flash of how Cassian's, you know, he's got some more. He's got more. He does have some morality to him, right?
Yeah,
Even though we know he steals, but he steals from the Empire. He kind of, he's shady with some people, right? He's not paying his debts. Okay, he's not
yeah,
exactly the most upstanding
yeah.
citizen,
But he's not
but he does,
blackmailing anyone. He's not threatening people. If someone attacks him, yes, he'll kill them. You
right,
know.
where he has to kill when it's necessary.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you see, he doesn't enjoy that either. So
No.
again, it's adding to where his moral compass is in
Yeah.
things.
I want to talk about Bix though. Um,
Hmm.
where
Obviously, a history there.
yeah, I always looked at Bix and like. So I've watched 3 episodes and like I'll say like I wasn't 100% able to concentrate on the whole thing of it. I'm not sure why, and it's confusing to me because usually I'm quite good at that. But for the longest time, I was thinking, is she the older girl from where Andor was from?
Which older
Remember
girl?
the one who was in charge of the tribe, basically. Remember
She's the one
when?
who got shot.
Did she die though? Did we see her die?
Well, it looked like because her eyes were open when they were picking up.
Yeah,
So it was looked like she did.
yeah. They broke the rule as well. They killed a child.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Damn.
That's what added to the whole like they
Yeah,
are they're taking this seriously. This
yeah.
is.
But I don't know because you know
I
even
didn't.
even face wise and ethnicity wise, they just seem, because the rest of the area is all quite British white ancestry, right? Whereas Andor and Colleen or Bix, definitely have Latino or Latina sort of heritage.
Right. Well, we don't know where. I don't think it doesn't seem like she's from there. From there either. More of just. I think you're seeing that's their
Subgroup, I
this is
guess. Yeah, yeah,
this is the subgroup, right? Because like you said, because everybody else is, so these are more the different class. Because we know what we see is how when Cassian is just taken away, and it sounds like this planet, like nobody's heard of this planet, and
yeah,
she even makes comments of that. Well, where is he from? Where is he? He's from there, not that same as me, or that
yeah.
I'm
True.
from there too. There's a separation
Yeah,
there.
but I would argue this though. I don't think a tribe of children has much multi-generational living there. I
Mhm.
don't think there have been many
Exactly.
generations of those. I wouldn't be surprised if that tribe of children was the first generation of that tribe, where their parents
Yeah.
were off-worlders, and maybe there is
Hmm.
still a connection there.
Well, or what it clicks with me depending on where they're trying to with that whole mining thing. If there was a mass mining accident, that makes sense of who are left.
Yeah,
The kids. It was the parents were there in the mines. There's this accident, killed all the
yeah.
parents. Well, kids got nobody, so they have to band together as a tribe, and they're who's left living. I think
That's
that's what they're
exactly.
kind of maybe
It's
they're probably
definitely
hinting
what's
at.
that story about the War of the Buttons? It's another about a bunch of kids lost on an island.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it sounds
it's kind
familiar.
of the same idea, like
Yep.
But yeah,
So yeah, there's obviously a history though between him and Bix. Yeah, there's something that's been going
Yeah.
on for a long time.
And
It
her
seems like,
boyfriend,
which
husband,
boyfriend,
or special
husband.
other, not a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
he was obviously his jealousy gets the best of him.
Yeah. And he makes a little call.
Tim, it's Tim with two M's.
Yeah.
He's Tim.
To yeah. And he makes a little call. Um,
Yep.
with a little planet name. And yeah, we. This is when Andor's just like, yeah, I need to run. And his mother, um, who, what was her name again?
Marva.
Marva. She's obviously like she's in their entire life has been hiding where he's from. He knows where he's from,
Hmm.
but like any public record, any like official things, he has got. She's gone. Oh no, he's from else. He's from this planet. He's not from that planet. So why is she keeping the secret?
Right. Why the secrecy again? Unless she was concerned about the whole Republic would, at the time taking him away because the Republic, so she says the Republic would you know, uh, is that what's going on there? But there's got to be more to
I'm starting to wonder
that.
if the
Why
planet was a
why the
cover up.
secrecy?
There was a cover up about that planet.
Hmm.
Something that would not do well with those in charge, no matter those who were in charge before or after. It continued going on.
Right. We say it
Yeah,
because it does, and that was something I was wondering as well. That's in the back of my mind, is especially when you just say, "Oh, there was a mining accident." It's like, was convenient? There's accidents that occur that wipe everybody out.
yeah, yeah,
Huh, so it does bring about that. I think. Hopefully we'll again, yeah, hear more about what the real history is there
yeah.
of that planet.
Is there anything else?
The interesting thing, so segue now as we're going along here is into Cassian meeting Luthen, right?
Yeah,
Stellan, man, he hears a scene, and that's all there is. It's him.
yeah. Brilliant actor.
Uh,
Even in
but
like this goofy roles like in Thor, I still enjoy him.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, exactly. I love him as an
Yeah,
actor. The interesting comment when already in leading up to him showing up, Cassian makes the comment to Bix, wanting to arrange the meeting. So he goes, "Well, he's wanted to meet me, right? He's wanted to meet me. Well, make this happen. I want to sell this thing so I can get credits. Get the hell out of here." Um, Luthen shows up. They start talking, but then Luthen reveals, details about Cassian. Makes that comment, says, that's over there where they hanged your father, isn't it? Which you realize that's why you don't
yeah,
see when it's the modern day. That's why Marva's husband ain't there. It's indicating so they hanged him. Oh shoot! So there's more stuff going on in that history of life. Uh, so it's interesting. Like so, he knows a lot about him. He's researched more into Cassian and is interested in him.
yeah. That's true. Yeah,
So they're now forced
yeah,
forced to try to So I think that was an interesting little nugget
yeah.
of information about
I think
Cassian's
we
life.
get some interesting things as well. It kind of shows up that the local security are pretty inept to anyone who has any sort of expertise,
Right.
because both of them get off the planet out of there so quickly and easily. Like there's a few pre-planned things, but the security officers don't know what they're doing. They
Right.
literally they are a group that aims a gun and points and shoots. That's what they do. We see that. We see the guy, and again, I think this is kind of reference to what's happening in America with police officers when Tim sees that his girlfriend, partner, or other is pretty beaten up, and he runs to her.
Hmm.
Dov said, "Stop moving," and he stops for a moment, but he looks at her again, and you can obviously see her like, don't do this. But he's completely caught. He's trying to protect her. Like he shouldn't have called tattled on Andor. Yeah, whatever. But
Right.
he didn't do it through evil purpose. He did in complete fear. He didn't like doing it either. You can see it on the phone. He wasn't happy about
Oh,
doing it. He was pretty messed up about it. But we then see them move again, and the first thing the officer does is shoot him down. And it was not even
right.
that officer; it's a further officer that does it.
Right, it's more like the young
Yeah,
one of the
yeah,
group, because the other one, he's ready trying to, he's gonna probably smack him with it or something.
yeah,
It's the young one who is obviously shaking, shoots him,
yeah, yeah.
because
Poor
he
training.
even
Yeah, yeah,
and he reprimands him right there, and says, wait, grabs the gun away and says,
yeah,
"You're going to the ship. You're
yeah.
going to."
But again, it's not really even done in a way of you're off the force. It's just like, go on, head back, idiots.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. Obviously, we see
but
that
it
guy's comeuppance as well. He tries to escape the planet, and it's tied to a space car or something. Uh,
space, just
uh,
space junk.
yeah, space junk, and it doesn't go well. The thing literally pulls him. The thing they landed in very much clone trooper era carriers.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right. That was pretty neat there, where you still had a lot of, that look of clone. I'm like, so we're only, because what they said is 5 years,
yeah,
before battle. So it's like, so we still got a lot of things that have still that republic, which would make sense if this is further out. You're not going to have newer, latest great stuff. You're going to have more of the stuff probably that they can't
yeah.
afford. They could buy up cheap all the old republic,
Yeah. I mean,
carriers and things.
even later in the universe, the First Order recycled a lot of the stuff from the Empire,
Hmm.
and built new ships out of it. Like, but yeah, they mostly recycled a lot of. That's the only good thing they did, recycling. Uh,
They're psych. That's why the scrappers were there.
yeah,
But yeah, I loved that loved the thing with where they so the police force, the mall cops are there, trying to take over the planet, look through them in the planet, and they go to Marva's home, and they keep her there hostage with little emo. And I love her, her comments about is it's getting to you, isn't it? The sound of that clanging that they're constantly doing. And she's like, that's what a reckoning sounds like. I love just her, I don't know, her acting, her whole thing. I know it's something that
yeah,
I saw that was brought up online, that a lot of folks are like, "Oh, that was cool." And then it's just lovely when she said, "It's when they stop that you should worry about," and they're like, "Well,
yeah,
what? What should it be?" And she's just, just goes back in the recliner, like, well,
yeah,
just
yeah.
don't know. And then, sure enough, that's
And
when all
again,
shit breaks loose.
it's very much like that. Don't underestimate the local population.
Right.
Like, you can have all the guns and weapons, but you are just, what, 14 men with guns? This is a whole town.
Hmm.
And the thing is, Andor did not do this by himself either. Like, there was too many things that
Right.
happened there. He got help from the local populace,
Right. They were
Everyone's
looking
off
for
the
their
streets.
chance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
They
they
don't
were
like
looking for
these
their chance. I
people.
mean, as it kind of explained, like they're like, is that even in our jurisdiction? Like, yeah, it is. Like,
Yeah.
this is far enough out. That's why these are already a rebellious group of people as it is. They don't like any kind of authority going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that kind of sums up a lot about that show. And it's it's definitely different. I like the show a lot, especially after the third episode. They could have summed things up. That was what, total of roughly 2 hours, because 40 minutes each episode, more or less, roughly 2 hours. Yeah, they could have condensed that right in half. They could easily brought that into 1 hour. I think they could
Yeah.
have cut a lot of things down. But would think what would have happened is it would have felt like how the other shows have been, especially lately. They're rushing through things too much.
Yeah.
You get the point, but they're rushing through it so much that A, you either don't get a feeling of like really let it soak in, or B, it happens so fast that you're just like, the pacing's so off that, whoa, now we're here. Oh, cut to here. You're just supposed to be like, yeah, it's 5 days later. Yes, it's an hour later, even though the flow makes it seem like it was the next second, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
here, there's definitely not that. There is it took them an hour, and you're going, oh, it feels like it took them
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
hour
Yeah.
to do it.
I think a big part of it is, I think our attention spans have changed because,
Yes.
for example, like The Wire, as I mentioned early on, that, or even, let's say, some more geeky Star Trek TNG, like a lot of those shows went on and on with just talking and discussing
Hmm.
what's happening on, and character moments, and like, this is going to take some time. Whereas now it's almost expected to, like, we need high octane. Where is it? Where is it? Throw it in there. We need it.
Right.
I don't know. I think collectively our brains have changed a bit. Maybe it's because we get so much information and stuff through the internet so quickly that, yeah, we're kind of deficient on attention. You know,
I agree.
Yeah, I enjoyed the show. I definitely saying everything I've just said there. I definitely am looking forward to more action stuff because I think the end part where they tricked the guards by driving out a car that flipped and blew up, and how they used that explosion to then use as a distraction to escape, how it dragged this prim and proper officer into basically he's basically having PTSD. He's standing there, he's not hearing anything. He's fecked. I love that sort of stuff as well. And I mean, again, Rogue One was built on the whole, yes, we need information, but we also want to sabotage things here. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of that as well. Because we have the slow pacing, but we need a mix.
Right, I agree. I do think not to, in this case here, it does feel, it's like, they feel like they have to go one way or the other, right?
Yeah.
Like, we've got to go full blast, or we got to just slow it down. It's like, this did feel a little bit too slow, but I was okay with it as this has established, and I do feel at this point, as of episode 3, okay, I have savored it, I've gotten it, and like you said, now we can pick up the pace. I'm good with if we can now go back to more of a middle. Let's get more action, but take some times here and there to, it's okay to have a pause, to, show something a little bit more, or talk about it a little more, or show something, have those pauses in there, but it doesn't need to be the entire thing. We can now mix it up, and hopefully we'll see that going forward. I think they were slowly building that up because it was each episode, it did get progressively a little bit more. So
yeah, that's fair enough. Sorry, people hear me type in the background because I've been doing 2 podcasts. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, right. Sorry about that. Yeah, for anyone who's hearing me type in there, it's because I have 2 podcasts today, one after the other. So I'm talking to the other person. I am sorry for this slight distraction. Yeah, but I think we'll leave it there for now. I think we had a good talk there. I'm looking forward to seeing more of this, though I'm going to be real with you. I'm looking more forward to the Ahsoka series.
But there's, you know what? That's one word right there. You say that, and I'm like, Ahsoka. That's the one I'm dying to see.
Yeah. And we'll be reviewing that one for sure as well. That's interesting because I have a feeling the Ahsoka one is going to be a lot more colorful. I'm not saying technically cheery, but like there's definitely a bit of color in there. It's definitely a little bit more hijinks, a little bit more adventure. Whereas I think one of the things as Rogue One that people complain about was it was a little bit sad throughout. Like things were like hard and tough,
right?
And,
it ended. Yeah. It ended with them dying, even though it was that it's hope, because you knew what happened next, but it ended sad.
At least it didn't do the kiss. That's
all
better than Rise of Skywalker. So,
yes.
Look, we'll leave it at that, folks. Tune in next week, and we'll review the next episode, and let us know what you thought of the episode. Have you noticed any references that we haven't? Who's your now favorite droid out there? Because I definitely have a new one. But yeah,
emo.
He's too emo. But yeah, folks, we'll talk to you next week. It's goodbye from me,
and goodbye from me.
Asherlow. It's a big rent.